Both the JP Morgan Nasdaq Equity Premium Income ETF, JEPQ, and JEPI, the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF, just announced the largest dividends to be paid this month in June 2024, which are the largest dividends that both of these covered call income style ETFs have paid all year. We're also going to talk about why these dividends have been going up as of recently and what implications this is going to have for both these ETFs potentially in the future. So if this interests you at all, make sure to stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. So once again, for some clarification here, JEPI, the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF, and JEPI's brother or sister, whatever you want to call it, JEPQ, just as of recently announced their June dividends to be paid as of June 5th, that is. And looking at JEPQ's dividend for June, it looks like it's 44.97 cents per share, which, like I said, is the largest dividend that we have seen come out of JEPQ, come out of this fund all year. Now, JEPI, on the other hand, also is paying a pretty large dividend compared to the last 6 or so months, 36.02 cents per share, and this is once again the largest dividend that we've seen over the past 6 or so months. Now, speaking for myself, because I currently hold quite a bit of JEPI and JEPQ in my long-term portfolio, and to be exact, I currently have around 1,248 shares of JEPI in my portfolio and around 508 shares of JEPQ, which I've been holding for several years now. Now, the fact that both JEPI and JEPQ pay a different amount of dividend income on a monthly basis is something that covered call style ETF investors like myself and like a lot of you guys have sort of just come to realize, and sort of more or less just come to get used to. Now, the unfortunate thing for this is, especially as you build out a position, and this is maybe one of the negatives about holding on to different cover call style ETFs like JEPI and JEPQ. One of the negatives is that you really don't know exactly how much you're going to get paid in dividend income on a monthly basis, considering in the last 12 or so months, dividends have been as low as 36 cents and as high as over 45 cents per share. And this is for JEPQ we're talking about, which isn't all that big of a deal because if you average it out, you're still looking at a nice healthy dividend yield. But for investors closer to retirement that are maybe looking to use these dividends to pay for bills, it can get a little bit frustrating, a little bit annoying to not really know exactly how much you're going to be receiving on a monthly basis, which is something that I definitely stand with. Now, looking a little bit deeper into the most recent dividends that have been paid so far in 2024, let's start off with JEPI. The first ex-dividend date that JEPI had of 2024 was on February 1st, 2024, and of course the payout date was February 6, 2024. Now, JEPI did of course have an ex-dividend date before 2024 and technically did pay it this year, but just going off of the ex-dividend date, the record date, and the pay date, the first one of 2024 all in all was 30 cents per share. The next dividend paid by JEPI was again 30 cents or so, then the next one after that was 34 cents, which was a nice little bump, 32 cents after that, and then most recently 36 cents, which is the largest that we've seen in a while. Now, JEPQ also had the exact same ex-dividend date and pay date, making it the first ex-dividend date of this year, which was 34 cents, then we had 38 cents the month after that, 42 cents after that, 43 cents after that, and then most recently almost 45 cents, which is nice. Now, the way that these cover call style ETFs work for the most part is that they buy a basket of equities and then sell cover calls and earn a lot of premium for doing so, take that premium and then pay it out in the form of dividends to investors like you and I. Now, over the past 5 or so years, the volatility index has not really been all that high, especially not since 2022, which is partially at least one of the reasons on why JEPI and JEPQ and other cover call style ETFs that sort of base their distribution amounts off of the fact that the volatility and option premiums have been rather cheap. But just as of recently in April, we did see a nice little spike from VIX, the previous lows being in the 13 and 14s, and then we saw a spike being at 1871. Which led a lot of investors of JEPI and JEPQ to believe that a month or so from then, we should have a larger payout, which is exactly what happened. Now, when the volatility index is higher, generally speaking, option premiums are more expensive, and because JEPI and JEPQ sell options, they could potentially make a lot more money during these times. So during times where volatility is much lower like we've seen over the past year or so, all in all, cover call style ETFs like JEPI and JEPQ are not necessarily going to cash out the amount of dividends that we've seen historically. But even with that, all in all, JEPI still has a 30-day SEC yield of around 7.52%, and JEPQ's is 10.87%, which I don't think any one of us are complaining whatsoever, especially considering JEPQ specifically has had so many gains as far as price return goes over the past year or so. Now, extrapolating out into the future, figuring out if or if not JEPI and JEPQ are going to continue to pay larger and larger distributions to investors, and more or less the best bet that we have that these ETFs are going to pay more and more in dividend income is, generally speaking, if volatility comes back in the market and if option premiums start to skyrocket. But regardless, just speaking for myself and probably for a lot of you guys, it is nice to finally have one of the largest dividends paid by both JEPI and JEPQ in several months now, and hopefully this is just something that we can look forward to more of in the future. Because although historical performance has nothing to do with future performance, when I started buying shares of JEPI back in the day, I was receiving well north of a 10% yield, same with JEPQ. And although JEPQ has held up pretty nicely over the past year or so, especially with all that price return, JEPI has sort of slouched behind, but I'm definitely hopeful for some bigger dividends, some more volatility in the up and coming months. But in the talks of the June JEPI and JEPQ dividend, and if or if not you're holding on to either or both of these ETFs, let me know what yields you guys are expecting for the rest of the year out of both JEPI and JEPQ. Drop it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.